Welcome to PTTV, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Geoff Wilson. We're going to talk about sports marketing, sports consulting, and everything in between, from branding to the future of sport. Geoff, thank you very much for taking time out and joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking me to take part, and it's great to see all the other different videos. So hopefully this one will be of interest to those people that are following you.
It will be for sure. And I'll be honest, sports marketing, it's something, we do marketing, but I don't know a lot about sports marketing. So I'm really intrigued to dive into this today and to benefit from your experience in that sector, because it's what a sector to be involved in.
Yeah, for me, I would say my background is more within the marketing side in corporate, within the likes of BT. And when I left BT and joined the Irish Football Association, I probably didn't realise how much the industry was exciting, and probably it didn't have a clear focus as a career in it. But when I managed to get into it and started to move to different parts of the industry, what an industry! It impacts so many people. I think it's almost nearly close to government, because sport can make such a positive impact in communities, let alone countries. And people would say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, when Northern Ireland qualified for the Euros, there was a buzz about the place. When Northern Ireland beat England, and hopefully there's not too many friends on from England, when we beat them 1-0, everybody talked about it. There was a buzz about the place, and it was a feel-good factor, and that's the power and influence that sport can do, let alone all of the health things that we obviously know of.
Incredible. No, you talk about the joyous moments, and here, anytime anyone's beating England, it's always good. So that's how we get in trouble now. That'll be it. So it's
You're absolutely right. I was speaking at a conference, and somebody said to me, look, I'll give you £1 for every time you mention Northern Ireland beating England. So I came away with £5, so I was happy enough with that.
Brilliant, love it. Oh, no, every day. Oh, that was brilliant. It is good value. But you're totally right. You think of COVID and what we've been through and going through, and people are looking for some entertainment, and we've missed all the live sports around the world, and it's great to see some of them are coming back now. But also, you think of sports, it's everything from PTs, personal trainers in schools, the impact it has in society, or get out and walk, even our mindset. It's so important for everyone involved and to participate, for entertainment and for own fitness at the moment.
You're absolutely right. I think that the things that people will see is the health. So getting out and getting fit. So whether that you're doing some PT training, or whether you're playing football, hockey, hurling, whatever it is, there's that fitness. The other side then is the teamwork. You're working together in a team in most cases. And even if you're as a single athlete in, say, for example, the 100 meters, you're still working with different people, especially at the elite end. So you're there as a team, and that, as human beings, that's what we like. We like to be part of a team. We like to be part of a community. But I also think, apart from that sort of side of the health and the teamwork, there's the economy side. And I'll buy stuff from Adidas and from Nike. You'll probably buy maybe some New Balance trainers. Somebody else will buy. So all of those things come together that creates an economy in itself. And let alone then, which I think is probably the last bit, is the feel-good factor that comes with whether that's following a team, whether that's Liverpool, and yes, I'm a Liverpool fan. So whether that comes with that, or whether it's following your country to a major championship, there's all of those things of passion that all comes through. So sport has an important part to play. But what's different, I think, about us, we're a sporting nation. And you're a sporting nation, then that means that you can, in general, use sport as a platform for learning. What do I mean? Or for tackling issues. So what do I mean by that? Whether that's mental health, whether that's promoting nutrition, whether that's tackling crime, sport can be used as a platform for learning, because so many people, you put 20 kids the majority of those 20 kids will be playing some form of sport, and that's the platform that they understand. And when you do that, there's a huge impact. If I can give you a quick example, so the Ulster Grand Prix, the world's fastest road race. What an amazing thing to have the world's fastest road race on our doorstep. And we've been working with the Department of Justice, Department of Communities and the PSNI to look at antisocial behaviour on scramblers. And really what we're trying to do is, through the Ulster Grand Prix, teach people how to ride a bike safely, how to change an engine, how to strip an engine. We're giving them martial training, first aid training. And these are maybe individuals, real good kids, but maybe they've just maybe doing some antisocial behaviour. But when you bring them in the environment of the sport, you're starting to see behavioural change. And that's good for our society. And that's one example of how sport, and there's numerous of those. Street football is another example of how sport can and is making a huge impact in our community.
Incredible. And as we dive deep into this, I guess I should be asking to share a little bit about your background and what you've done, because you've been in some amazing positions on your journey through sport.
Sometimes when I look back, I've been very, very fortunate. And the first thing I would say, there's a lot better people than me that do what I do. I'm just extremely fortunate to have got on well with individuals and been involved in some amazing projects. But when I left university, I was at Queen's and then did my master's at Jordanstown. And I think one thing I would say to people, make sure you get an education. It's absolutely fundamental as that foundation block. Nothing beats experience, but you need that education. So when I left, I got a graduate job at British Telecom, and I found that amazing because it was in the marketing area. But what a lot of people say to me, Geoff, you need to be specific. I want to be in social media. And my experience has been actually the direct opposite. No, be a generalist. So when I was in marketing, we did campaigns, research, competitor intelligence. There was a wide range, and that meant that you got a holistic view of the subject of marketing. That meant that you were adding a lot more value when you got to plans. And then there was a job for the Irish Football Association. I went and applied for that, and I got it. I always say that nobody else was in for it. That's why I got it. It was the first time I had a marketing role. There was zero money. We were at Windsor Park, which needed huge upgrading. There was huge issues in there, and yet with the whole team at the IFA, everybody from community relations to the marketing to the grassroots coaches, we turned around a business inside 5 years with zero money. We didn't qualify for any tournaments then. We had zero money, and yet we doubled our turnover, and we won a marketing award in England in the SME category. Not even in sport, in England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and little IFA won a marketing award from the industry that we won the whole thing in all of the UK. And that was a team effort, not a Geoff Wilson effort. That was a team effort. And then just finally in 2013, I set up my own consultancy. And now I deal with probably some of the biggest sports brands in the world from a global point of view here in Lurgan. And I think the point I would say to people, never think or give up on your dream. And the other bit, if you think you're maybe, I'm not sure I can do that. Hey, David can beat Goliath. Hey, if I can do it, other people can do it. If somebody from Lurgan can work with global sports people in football, in basketball, you name it, if I can do it, so can the listeners.
Yes. And can you give us a little bit of an example of when you go into these businesses or organisations, what do you help them with, how you help progress it? I know you probably can't give too many examples, but just as a broad stroke, just to understand how you go in and help these organisations.
Yeah, so what happens, I would work centrally with these organisations and creating programs, and those basically, these global sporting organisations have members, and those members range from the Caribbean to Africa to Asia to Europe, you name it. And these members, the idea is the global member they want to have their individual members to increase in terms of their capacity and them as an organisation. So what I do, I look at helping them to create a sports strategy, look at sports governance, we look at sports marketing, we look at sports communication, we look at fan engagement, and in essence, capacity building programs. So those are educational programs that moves that federation from here to here. So whether that federation's in football, basketball, mixed martial arts, whatever, it's about putting in place good business corporate principles in a sporting environment and seeing them grow and move to the next level in their federation's development. That's really, really interesting and really exciting, because you could put in place a plan to grow the sport in a country. Well, in 4 or 5 years' time, because of that plan, you could have affected 100,000 people's lives. And that impact is absolutely fundamental. And that's where the likes of government and sport should be working more closer together.
No, incredible. And again, it's amazing, the difference. So I was having a quick research there. I remember actually going to see Northern Ireland play Germany. It was 1997. I had a check. But again, I've been back, and the changes there are incredible. How the facilities, the stadium, the atmosphere, everything's changed and moved forward. And as you say, the changes that can happen over a period of time is just phenomenal due to sport and bring people in, and the fun you can have. Oh my word! And the banter on the back of it is incredible. So it's actually realizing how big an impact it can have.
Absolutely, and that has a huge impact in terms of being, for me, I think you should be proud from whatever country you're from. And that's not a political statement. You just should be proud from the country that you're from. And whenever that you see, for example, the changes that's going on at Windsor Park and at the Irish FA, I take a lot of pride in that. And I have to say, it was a team effort. There was community relations, there was coaching, there was competitions, there was so many people in amongst as well marketing. But when we were doing it with zero money, we had to be really creative. And what I would say is the fans have got so much praise, and rightly so. What they did to change to Windsor Park, yet still keep the culture and the heritage and all that background of George Best, Pat Jennings and all the rest of it, is just absolutely an amazing journey that I was on, and one thing that I will always take with me, because we can see an organisation, and I can tell you all the figures, and again I get back to it, with no marketing budget, how we were able to do things. I would say 15 years ago we were live streaming, 30 people, didn't work, but we still did it. 15 years ago we were integrating our online shop into Facebook. So those things we were doing way ahead of our time, because we had to innovate, because we didn't have the money. And yet, and maybe for another podcast, what that story we did and how we changed a brand image with little to no money, I still use that when I'm talking to global football federations around the world. And you talk very much with pride in that journey.
Of course. I'm sure there's going to be people here who have a sports business or involved in an organisation that probably don't have big budgets. Is there one or two key elements that they should really consider or look at as fundamental for them to move to the next stage?
Yeah, well, I think from a digital point of view, you've got to build up your database. And that is not just, let's get a whole load of emails and we'll just whack it out. It's really getting the data and having what I would call insights. So what are those people actually doing? And then how do you segment that data based on their needs, and then target messages at the right time, at the right place, how they want it, with the right message related to the data you've collected on them. So we started collecting an email database, I would say 16, 17 years ago. And that is extremely important. I think the other one is to have a very simple brand message. So for us, our brand message at the Irish Football Association was football for all. 3 little words, but what powerful words, because that was a positional statement to say, no matter where you're from, football is for all. And to get that message out, so if you're, for example, you're on an email, football for all. If you on the website, football for all. If you were speaking at an event, football for all. So it's that consistency is what I'm talking about, let alone a brand statement that is unique to you. And then I think that other bit would be, how do you use the media, in my case, sports tech media, to really continue to communicate with them, to maybe write articles, to really, get your message, your content out there, but it's done again on a consistent, regular basis.
Incredible. So some advice then, if anyone is considering or needs some help with the marketing, sports marketing, is really look after your data, catch the data wherever you can around who's watching or going to your sport. Look at your branding and what you're actually positioning yourself as, and then really utilize media and make sure you're consistently backing up your story and getting it out into the press. That's 3 gold points there. So thank you for that. You've probably seen loads of mistakes that sports businesses have made, or any business or organisation in the sports industry. Is there any of those that you can think of and could share with us so we can maybe avoid them?
Yeah, I think just touching on that branding subject, I think a number of sports organisations think that when they do a new logo, that's branding done. Here's my new logo, we're done. And what they miss out is the logo is obviously an element in branding, but it's only one of a major number of areas. And I think how people build their brand is probably needs to be greatly improved. And I can see that in a number of areas, and how they treat their brand. Not the logo, but their brand. And to me, I go back to Disney. Disney tell a story, they tell it well, and they tell it often. And how you get treated by Disney when you're not there as a customer, you're there as a guest. So how they do that, I think sport and other organisations need to look to people like them. People say to me, Geoff, but Disney's got millions. Yes. But it's the principles that I'm looking to ask people to think about, how Disney do all of these different bits and pieces, how they develop and grow their brand, and how the customer service is exceptional, and how the overall entertainment creates something of value in your mind. So to me, I think sports organisations don't do enough in this whole area of creating their brand and telling their brand story, especially linked to great history. I think that the second for me area is in the area of engaging their fans. I think if we're talking at a stadium or at an event, I think many sports organisations is we engage our fans and our spectators when they come to see us. And to me, I don't think that is one bit, but not the bit. So I created a very basic sports model that talks about, if you're at the match on game day, you've got to engage, which is the traditional. But what about if it's game day and you're not at the match? How are you engaging people? What about if it's non-game day, but you're at the venue? And what about if it's non-game day and you're not at the venue or the stadium? So each of these four building blocks, you've got to engage fans. In other words, it's got to be consistent throughout the year, not just when you've got a game every fortnight, 6 months or whatever.
Incredible. No, gold advice. And again, I've often wondered, brands, you see them sometimes, sports brands, and they're not making use of the volume of social media that we have today and sharing what's happening behind the scenes. And you're as a fan, you want to know what's going on. You want to know what's happening today. If there's training, how are the players? You do want to see that. And the history, I'm thinking back, gosh, some of these clubs could be running for 100 years or more, and all the media that they would have and not utilising that. So again, brilliant advice again. Thank you for that. That's incredible. You've seen obviously the industry change then. There's a lot of new technology. You're talking about live streaming there now as well. Do you see it getting quicker as it changes over the last couple of years? And does it have to keep evolving even quicker?
Yeah, I think this is probably an area that people maybe don't realise how sport is leading in a lot of these areas, especially at the elite end. And I would almost nearly say within the likes of NBA in America, there are some amazing things that are going on in this space. And I'll break it into sort of three broad areas. So broad area one is player performance. So the players are now getting GPS player tracking systems, all the technology around them that increases them by maybe 1-2%. And at the elite end, that's all it is, 1-2%. And you're starting to see coach education, a lot more activities going down this area using technology to enhance the player's performance. So that's number one. Number two, stadium and administration. So there's a lot more on data and insights, a lot more in the single view of the customer, a lot more on cashless. So being able to take your mobile phone and use that as your ticket or as payment options within stadiums. But also how the actual organization as an administration is really driving sort of digital transformation within their organization, especially in America. And then number three, which is probably the big area, is in fan engagement. So we're starting to see digital and digital technology really engaging and really driving change within how they engage with fans. So for example, there's augmented reality, virtual reality, there's artificial intelligence, there's OTT platforms, there is the athletes now becoming content creators as well as the clubs becoming content creators. There is ways that now fantasy gaming that's coming on, there's esports. So all of this area, and I've just touched on the tip of it, is really driving. And I think the pandemic has given it another kick to use digital technology to really engage, especially fans. And I think the impact of 5G will move it to another level again.
Wow, amazing. So, and as you're explaining some of the examples, I'm trying to think how many of those I've actually seen in play. So, no, it's incredible to see the technology coming into sport, and it'll be interesting to see what the next couple of months and years bring in the sports industry. You mentioned as well that government and the impact sports has in the economy. It provides a lot of jobs, it impacts people's health. And for all of us, we know that health is very important, more now than ever. But I'm thinking of some of the events that I've been to in a local town, and I see crowds of people coming in and spending the day in the town, going into the shops. So sports is critical for tourism, no matter where it is in the world. Have you seen that? And would you be able to give some examples of events that you deem successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my roles is I'm on the board of Tourism Northern Ireland, and that has really given me a real insight into a number of events that we have organised, especially from a sporting point of view. And I think it started with the Irish Open in 2012. We brought the Irish Open here, and what we said to everybody, we're open for business. And it said, look, we've got some great golfers, but we've got some great courses. Come and see us. And that really gave us, I think, the confidence to say, do you know what? We can do this. Where, again, I think sometimes the Northern way is, I don't know. Will a double turnover? Do we need... And maybe it's a little bit of a humble, position. Yet we were able to put our best foot forward. And that then accumulated in the British Open, which to many people is the largest, or one of the largest events in the world, coming to Portrush. And not only did we deliver well, our people put forward a warm welcome, our different accommodation providers all did a tremendous job to making a lasting impression. And the idea is that those golfers now come back to play at different courses throughout. I think you have things like the Ulster Grand Prix, the Northwest 200, that is all about our heritage, and it's all about our history in terms of that racing. And people come from all over the world. We had Paddy from Emmerdale at the Ulster Grand Prix. We had Ian Ayre, who was the chief executive from Liverpool Football Club previously, at the Ulster Grand Prix. We have a very, very famous people from all over the world at the event. And then you look at the Super Cup NI, one of the top youth tournaments, and it's played here in Northern Ireland. And that's not even looking at other events such as triathlon, cycling, you name it. And all at varying different levels will bring people, either the spectators, the participants, or fans, depending on the size of the event. And again, it gets back to the bit, we're a sporting nation. And if you're a sporting nation, you've got to play on that. And you've got to bring these events and be confident that we can deliver them to a high level, so much so that somebody says, I'm going to bring the family back for a little holiday here. I loved it so much. And that is exactly what's happening.
Incredible. And do you think with obviously the pandemic we have at the moment that organisations need to drastically change their strategies for sports events moving forward?
Yeah, a really interesting question. And I think what I would say in general is that the jury's maybe slightly out to be able to say yes, no, or whatever. And what I mean by that depends. If a vaccine is secured in the next year, then that will change things. If it's 5 years, hope it will not be that. That will change things. The other side of it is those major events, you're probably going to have to do some without fans, and that then obviously then has an impact on the likes of ticketing. I think from my point of view, there always is a way to do something, and what the pandemic is doing in the sports side is saying we've got to think innovative, we've got to think creative, and I would call it the Massey Ferguson effect in Northern Ireland. And this is where I think Northern Ireland businesses have got to let's get back to Massey Ferguson. Let's be innovative and creative. I'm not saying that we're not, but sometimes if everything's going great, you stay where it's at. And sometimes you need something like this as a jolt to say, let's get back and being innovative and creative. And I think sport will need to do that more and more over the next year.
Incredible. No, brilliant advice again. And you're right, in any industry, we all need to be doing that. We all need a little kick sometimes. There's no doubt. And in sports, I'm thinking we've got some incredible organisations, but also businesses. I'm thinking of StatSport. Obviously, you mentioned the trackers and the performance for players. So there's some incredible businesses here involved in sports indirectly as well, and supporting its development around the world. Your own business, have you found that the pandemic has changed how you operate in your day-to-day and how you support your clients?
Well, I have to say, I've never been on Zoom or MS Teams as much in my life. I feel like a total expert in Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And in essence, we've started to do strategic planning sessions using the technology. And that probably has worked and is working well. And it works well because everybody else is in the same situation. And I think that then has a knock-on effect on not having to travel. Plus, it allows you to do more because I'm not having to go down to Dublin Airport to get a flight. I think my last time I've been on 89 countries. 89 countries. And so it's nice just being at home with the family. So I think the use of technology has definitely changed, i.e. the use of Zoom, Microsoft Teams to do workshops. It's not as I would say, as strong as face-to-face, but it's doable because everybody else is in the same situation. I think secondly, I've pivoted slightly in that of what's in my mind, and it's very minimal, believe me. I've started to commercialise that by creating an e-learning course with Barcelona Football Club. So Barcelona Football Club have created what they call a Barca Innovation Hub. The idea is to bring in, use technology and also e-learning and to increase and enhance not only Barcelona Football Club, but people who know of them. So they're maximising their brand. So I went live in March of this year with an e-learning course with Barcelona Football Club. So, that's been good. But in general, I've been very, very fortunate. There's a small number of people that do what I do, and I've actually found I've got more people coming to me and more sports So not only football and basketball, but it is sports, the likes of MMA and sailing. And there's lots of other sports now that are coming to me because, in other words, they need to make sure that their federations are strong. Strategic plans, governance reviews, marketing plans, all of that. And they also need capacity building programs to educate their people, because doing nothing is not an option. So for me, it's been good. But what I've tried to do, I know it's not for everyone. So what I've tried to do is friends of mine, maybe try and work with them and give them a bit of business. And I think that's an important part we should be doing as a community. Where you see somebody struggling, if you can and they're good enough, help them out, give them a bit of work. Stay local, invest local until we get through this pandemic, and hopefully that will continue. To stay local and to keep local in terms of business.
Yeah, and as you say, it's crazy times, but being able to build these partnerships and work with people, it's so important for any business going forward. What's next then for yourself? What do you see is on the future? It's really interesting. You're developing some online courses, especially with your partners and clients at the moment. So that's an amazing innovation. What's next?
Well, I think one bit is to continue working with the current clients, these global sports organizations. And when I mean global, they are global sports organizations that this Buck Agent from Lurgan is working alongside. And I think what I would like to do is to really test myself in terms of how else and what other things can we do to help the federations grow, to help sport grow, and to ensure sport is here. So I think that is really, really important. So it's pushing my boundaries in that space. I think I would love to do a little bit more in the sports tech area. You mentioned stat sports, and doing something in that area I think would be really good. I think the e-learning will be really good, so to do a little bit more in there. And I think in general, just spending time with a family. And it sounds a little bit maybe corny or whatever, but your health is your wealth. And also, with your family, you have one time to see your kids grow up, strengthen relationships and all of that. And for me, that's one thing that the pandemic has allowed a lot of people to do. And for me, that's been a positive experience and not a negative one. So I think even from that point of view of getting to know. And the last bit I think I would say is, and again, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, I can't help everybody. But if somebody needs a helping hand, if I can help them, I want to. And I don't mean that from a business point of view. In March until April, I give free consultancy to sports organizations around the world. Why? Not because aren't I great, far from it. I just wanted to help people. And I must have helped people in about 10 different countries around the world, about maybe 20 to 30 businesses, giving some free advice. You can't do that all the time. You've no business, and you don't, and let alone the time, but continue to help people. And think if we did that as a country, to help your neighbour, to continue to do that, I think we'd be in a better place.
Incredible. No, I'm with you there. I totally agree. Geoff, thank you very much for your golden nuggets today on sports marketing, the sports industry, and in business in general. Absolutely incredible to hear and understand what's going on. And we'll keep an eye out on the sports tech and how it develops over the next couple of years, because I would agree. I think we can all learn a lot from that. If anyone's watching this and would like to actually touch base, find out a little bit more about yourself, or even just connect and say hello, what's the best place or way for them to do that?
So you can get me on Twitter. That's Geoff, that's Geoff, so Geoff WMJ Wilson. You can get me on LinkedIn, same extension, Facebook, same extension, and my website, geoffwilsonconsultancy.com. I thought I would go for a small URL. So geoffwilsonconsultancy.com. It actually, believe it or not, drives me into my LinkedIn site, and but that's how people can keep in touch with me.
Incredible, and there's some amazing content on that as well. I can vouch for that. So, Geoff, no, thank you again for your time today. Really appreciate it, and look forward to chatting soon.
Thanks. All the best, and all the best to you and your organisation. And keep up the good work.
Cheers. Appreciate it. Really do. Thank you, and thank you for watching. Hopefully, you enjoyed this conversation with Geoff. Click below this video, and you'll find the links to Geoff. Connect with him on Twitter, LinkedIn, or any of the social networks that you use, and do check out his website. Hopefully you found it useful. Why not share this on your social media as well? And who knows, some of your contacts might be involved in the sports industry and could do with some help and guidance. Thank you again. We'll see you in the next video.